love superheroes. But I'm a little late to the party. To be precise, I'm about 10 years too late to be watching old Avengers cast interviews or crying over the pure cinema that is Daredevil. Turns out that people already experienced the shock I felt when Star-Lord's father turned out to be a giant mother-killing planet god thing, or the frustration when Captain America and Iron Man divorced on screen, or the pure ridiculousness of Bulk or Hannah or whatever this thing is offers a comically small taco to Paul Rudd aka Ant-Man. Every single action and reaction I've made has already been done by some fangirl in 2014 with too many mint-condition comics from the 60s and a Steve Rogers body pillow, and yet, here I am, at the very bottom of this hyperfixation hole and in desperate need to yap about my every thought. I'm literally about to explode as we speak, guys. Please let me. So yes, hello. This video is just gonna be me shamelessly talking about my entire journey of diving headfirst into the superhero fandom genre thing. Buckle up and enjoy this crazy ride of aura farming, unnecessarily involved debate about fictional laws, and the power of friendship. Hey, I've seen the state of your notes app. It's full of cool OC ideas and lore just thrown out over 100 different notes titled vague things like hi and thing. It's chaos! But what if I told you there's a place where character creators, artists, and storytellers can come together to organize all your ideas in one place? Look no further, because we're talking about UNVALE. UNVALE is a site for uploading characters and lore all in one easy interactive space. You get to create multiple characters, upload their art, write short stories and lore, and even exercise your brainstorming muscles with the character traits tab. UNVALE is the perfect place to give you the guiding hand you need to tame that wonderfully chaotic creative storm in your head. And it's even better when you get to share it with other people. The site is run by a small but dedicated group of creatives and is 100% AI and NFT free. With their growing community of over 250k users, it really does feel like a community made by and for artists just like us. The Explore tab features amazing opportunities to discover other OCs and artists, and has fun interactive activities like Question of the Day, where you get to share your writing about your characters with others on the site. I already found a handful of amazing artists favoriting my characters minutes into posting, which makes me so excited to share more. So what are you waiting for? Info dumping in your notes is a thing of the past. Link can be found in the description, and thank you to UNVALE for sponsoring this video. So I did grow up with a lot of superhero media as a kid, but I never truly delved into the genre until the start of this year. My childhood superhero experiences were Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, Astral blasting the haters with some expertly timed hip thrusts, and Iron Man eating a donut in a donut. Absolute cinema. And even though I watched the Marvel movies as they came out, I don't think I ever truly had an entire timeline properly placed together in my head. This year though, I spiraled entirely out of control and consumed the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in order. And the reason I did this? One character. Bucky Barnes. I know, of all the characters, I seriously don't know where my obsession with this one began, but somewhere vaguely in January while I was working on one of the biggest projects on this channel, I randomly decided, how about I get unnecessarily invested in your lore, and took a headfirst dive into the shallow end of the pool. Luckily for me, the very first appearance of Bucky is also the very first movie in the entire cinematic timeline, so I guess that worked out. I think the most iconic era was around the first Avengers movie all the way to Civil War, which was around 2014 to 2016. Where the fandom seemed most alive. That was just a great set of movies. I watched Captain America lose his friend only for him to come back 70 years later, but with eyeliner this time. I watched Iron Man and Pepper argue about the inevitability of death and omelets. The main plot, however, eventually came to a head when all the Avengers had to face the worst thing of all. The government. Yeah, the conflict of civil war is a custody war, and whether or not the government gets to mandate superheroes or not. This also started a huge debate within the fandom itself, and it split people up. It got so big that there were literal essays about which side is right. Yes, I am talking about the Sokovia Accords, or more accurately, Team Cap versus Team Iron Man. And also, yes, I'm about to derail this video real quick to debate this in the Big 25, but in my heart, I just went through this a few months ago, so cut me some slack. I vaguely remember this debate from when I was a kid, but back then I was staunchly Team Iron Man simply because I liked Tony and he was just cooler than Cap. He still is, but guys, I'm Team Captain America. Whoa, before you unsubscribe, hear me out. I'm not siding with Cap on he and Tony's will they, won't they, hate to love, second rival divorce arc bullshit. I'm talking about the actual contents of the Sokovia Accords, which is, by the way, kind of freaking insane. It says it's mandatory for every superpowered individual to submit their identity, fingerprints, and DNA samples to the government, which is already kind of crazy. And then it goes on to say innate powered people have to do something ominously named a power analysis, which is perfectly vague enough to mean anything. And they also have to wear tracking bracelets. Furthermore, if you don't sign the accords and then get caught using your powers, you can be confined indefinitely with no trial. That is so crazy, but thank goodness it's just a fictional world, and this never happens in the current day. No, but seriously, how does one read these demands and go, oh yeah, this is in our best interest? Cap was right to GTFO after Tony decided we're gonna just go ahead with trapping every powered person to a lifetime of non-consensual government monitoring. Anyways, I did not actually mean to go on a rant for that for a whole page, but in my defense, I have not talked about this with anyone because all of you traitorous people have done this thing called moving on from a debate from 10 years ago, like, ugh, could not be me. The point is that I got very invested, but not just in the world and the plot, but the characters and all the little moments between them that made the cast feel so alive. It's just such a fun thing to watch all these separate storylines you've been following converge on screen, and watching them all interact, going off all the information you got from seeing their separate movies. Like, it's so cool! Sadly though, once I caught up, I felt like things were starting to taper off in quality towards the end there. I was there while the Disney Plus shows were airing, so this was no surprise, but I was a little sad. It just feels like it was feathering out and the era was coming to an end. The superhero journey I was in is over, just 4 months in. And then 2025 served me with an absolute feast of superhero media. We're so back, baby! I'm talking about Invincible Season 3, followed by Thunderbolts, followed by Daredevil Born Again, followed by Superman, followed by Fantastic Four. Oh, great heavens! Yes, I'm 10 years late to the game, but 2025 might arguably be one of the best recent years for a new fan to get into the genre. And not only were they quality pieces of media in their respective universes, but never have I seen such a lineup of messages from movies so perfectly hit the nail on the head on how something as fantastical as superheroes can still tell such grounded stories. I mean, Thunderbolts was literally about dealing with grief and depression by personifying it in this fantastical way in Bob. And Bob gets help from the people around him to free him from the darkest parts of his own mind. That's beautiful, man. Invincible has always been good, but Season 3's interpersonal struggles of Mark trying to rationalize his actions and feeling himself lose his own sense of identity hit hard. Then need I even explain Superman? Every moment of that movie threw me back to what superheroes felt like they should be as a kid, and yet still grounded me in such a human story about having hope and seeing the best in people even when things seem bleak. And let's not forget the creativity that comes from all of these pieces of media. My absolute favorite part of experiencing a piece of media that really resonates with me is when I get to take that inspiration and create something of my own. I mean, there's just this special kind of harmony that comes when you have like a soundtrack from a movie you really like on while you sketch fan art or something in the background. Just this unapologetic love for some piece of art that makes you create some art of your own. I made a lot of shirts because merch is incredibly fun to make. This was my first time I ever tried bleaching shirts or painting on fabric, but seriously, if you're thinking of trying it, you should. It was just so nice to indulge in something I love without any expectation, just creating to create. And to have something to wear to ComicCon. Yes, I went to my very first ComicCon this year, and guys, it was just such a blast. I'm actually so excited to talk about this right now. I think this is a good point to pause though and mention that I watched Daredevil for the first time this year, and I think of all the media that hit me this year that I've mentioned so far, this one took the cake. There's just something so different about Daredevil that I was blown away by. You wouldn't even know it's from the Marvel Cinematic Universe with its unique, darker tone it takes, and while each season has become dear to me, it's Season 3 that really changed everything. Matt Murdock struggled with losing who he is while following a darker path fueled by grief and loneliness and loss, made for such a moving story. I don't know how many people out there have watched this show, but if you need something to get hooked on, this is the one. I could talk about it for hours, honestly. There are scenes in this show that have changed my brain chemistry, and I think it's 100% worth every second. And the cast of said masterpiece was coming to ComicCon, so obviously I had to go. I didn't go alone though. I went with a friend of mine, someone who actually got me into Daredevil and a lot of the Marvel stuff I've been talking so far in general. You know that person who's been there since they were like 9 and knows everything about the fandom that could ever be known? Yeah, that's her. She's kind of freaking awesome. Never have I entered a room full of so many nerds at one time. And everybody was so nice there. I found this super cool Invincible stand where the guy at the end gave me 2 free Invincible cards even though I definitely failed the wheel spin for it. He even let me choose one for my friend, so obviously I gave her Omni-Man. I'll let her figure out whether she loves me or hates me for that when she gets to the end of season 1. We found stands upon stands of comic books which I've slowly began to collect together. I was so tempted to buy every Daredevil one I saw, but I must resist. I gotta read my Winter Soldier ones first, guys. One depressed white man at a time for me. And besides, I couldn't buy comics like a normal person, no! Instead, I had to make the most zero-brained purchase of my life. A Marvel blind box. Veteran con-goers are probably face-palming so hard right now, but my friend and I are rookies, okay? We split this gigantic blind box, opening it with such excitement, and the first thing we get is this thing. And my heart sank as I realized what the quality of this blind box would be. Every single piece of junk in that box was some 7-year-old stocking stuffers from grandma who doesn't really know what Marvel is, but saw something with a logo on it and decided, yeah, that works. The look of pure dismay on our faces as we unearthed each item from the bag should be on a church wall from the sheer cosmic suffering we showcased. And at the very bottom of all that junk was the big reveal item, and it was... I did not spend $80 for a 7-year-old Hulk lunchbox, a seatbelt, and a Temu Roblox face Thor plushie. What is this? We actually had such a good laugh at the final reveal of this fucker. Genuine tears down my face at the fact that us, 2 grown adults, probably bought some little Timmy's blind box because we had too much faith in the system. I kept the Thor plushie as a reminder of this momentous occasion. I guess gambling really is just for kids. After that, though, my friends and I decided to get lined up for the panel stuff, since that's what we came for. We figured we should get there a little early since people would start coming in later and take all the good spots. We found a spot at like the front leftish part of the stage at around 12 p.m. for the first panel with Luke Cage's actor. And it was so much fun to watch, basically like watching a live interview in real time. Right after that, the actress from the show Jessica Jones came up. Both of these guys are from the Daredevil side of the universe, so we were very invested. So invested that we did not realize the slow trickle of people coming in behind us. Jessica Jones leaves the stage and I turn to see a genuine sea of people behind us. My friend and I are still a little off to the side of the full stage view at this point, but we pack in as far as we can. I feel kind of like a sardine, and then I turn to my right to see goddamn Walter White! This man in a very, very good Walter White cosplay is just standing next to us. We make brief eye contact before my friend and I start yapping about how excited we are to see the Daredevil cast and all that. I see Walter White staring at us from the corner of my eye. Every time my friend and I say something, he turns our way, and I start to get nervous because I have no idea what we're doing wrong until the next panel ends, and he turns to us and offers us his spot. Bro was waiting for the panel to be over so he could give us his closer, better spot, and then just disappeared. You're the realest one ever, and I hope you won the cosplay competition later that night. Walter White, the ComicCon panel angel, I will remember you. But because of him, we had this awesome spot for the other panels. We got to see Matthew Lillard, the purple guy himself, come on and give some really good advice for creatives out there.
Seek nobody's approval.
David Tennant, and then, of course, the Daredevil cast. Watching them talk about this series was just so cool. We got to see a peek into their thoughts about the next season and their experiences as actors on the show up until this point, while also being surrounded, and I mean actually surrounded, look at how many people there were behind us, by other fans of the show. The energy was just electric. It was so worth it. Every moment, every 6 hours that I was standing in the same spot. We stood in the same spot for actually 6 hours because we were too afraid to move and lose our spots. So some sacrifices were made, but like I said, worth it. We ended our day with one more panel, though this one was off in some hallway in some random room called The Fictional Roast of Superman. Unlike the last panels, this panel featured 6 grown men and 1 grown woman decked out in Polyester Party City's DC superhero outfits, doing stand-up comedy roasts on each other in character. Yes, it was exactly as awesome as it sounds. I could not stop laughing even when the jokes were so bad, even the people saying the jokes would not stop laughing at themselves. It was just the most raw display of goofiness, and everyone in the room was so in on it. My friend and I both agreed it was just the perfect way to end a full day of unapologetic nerding out, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. The year is slowly coming to close, and I wanted to make some sort of video looking back on it, but honestly, 2025 has not been my year. I've been struggling a lot with myself recently, and some days have been pretty difficult. And I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that this random, slightly silly hyperfixation genuinely helped me keep perspective, though. Sometimes you need a 6'4" ripped dude in a leotard to talk about struggling is part of being human for it to stick, or a group of people hugging their way out of the end of the world to remind you that you're probably not as alone as it feels. Not even to mention how people come together to share how these pieces of media have hit them. I know some people joke it's like every other year that the internet rediscovers kindness and empathy again, but I think it's just amazing that in times of struggle, we all collectively choose that this is the message that we want to believe in. I'm glad that because of this bundle of media that I've come to really love for the past year, I'll be remembering 2025 more often by all these insanely fun moments I've had getting to indulge in a hobby, or the good friends I've made because of it instead of just the bad parts. I'm so excited to keep finding new ways to enjoy media like this, and I can't wait to see what's in store for the superhero genre. And of course, thank you all for watching this very, very, very self-indulgent video. It has a lot less structure than my usual ones, but I honestly really enjoy just being able to info dump about all my brainworms. I'd love to talk to any Marvel fans in the comments, so leave all your thoughts below. I think I'm slowly starting to realize what my niche on YouTube might be, and it just looks like nerds. You're a nerd, I'm a nerd, we're all nerds. I hope you guys enjoyed, and subscribe, join my Patreon, all that jazz. Stay creative, guys. Bye-bye!